Hey everybody, this is Joel Hoekstra of Whitesnake, and you're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another interview of Sonic Perspectives. I'm Rodrigo, and our guest today is Mr. Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Cher, and Joel Hoekstra's 13. Joe, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Let's talk about your upcoming second album under the moniker Joel Hoekstra's 13, entitled Running Games. To me, it's a cut above the previous one, right? Don't you think?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's up to the listener, I guess. I haven't got much feedback yet because the album's not out just yet. So I'm excited to see what people think. But that's great. That seems to be what people are saying.
Yeah, I think even the cover has a lot more detail and it's a little bit more enticing, for lack of a better word, than the first one, right?
Oh, cool. Oh, thank you so much.
And I know you wrote all the songs and produced it, but having the same team of musicians from the first album probably had an influence on how this one came out, no?
Yeah, I wanted to have a consistent sound, the name. So from album to album, I don't want to just, all of a sudden have it be a completely different sounding thing. So it was great to be able to have everybody back from the first album and try to maybe focus the sound a little bit more on this one in terms of not having the songs be as diverse as they were on the first one. So that was the goal. Basically, same formula, but just tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think it seems a lot more focused now that you mention it, for sure. And you probably wrote these parts to suit Russell's range and everybody else's capabilities too, right? Or
Yeah, I definitely write around the personnel. So lots of the riffs have space in it for Vinny to play. Vinny loves grooving to rhythms that have a little bit of space. So try to include plenty of those for him. And yeah, I definitely write around Russell's range and know what he can hit and what he can't hit and try and work it out. So yeah, I definitely, it always comes down to who the personnel is and try to write what's going to be a good sounding album with all of them.
Yeah. When it comes to songwriting, there's definitely a difference between writing for Whitesnake and doing your solo stuff. I imagine there's a lot less boundaries and constraints for your solo material, right?
Well, I just do a lot more of it when it's my stuff, obviously. So I'm writing not, with Whitesnake, I write the guitar riffs, and even then, it's usually like the sections of the song that we need parts for. Like, hey, this song needs a bridge. Okay, how about this? Oh yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. That's a lighter load than like, hey, I'm going to write all the guitars, I'm going to write all the lyrics, and I'm going to write all the vocal melodies, like what the melody of the song should be throughout from the vocals. So, yeah, I mean, I just do a lot more writing on these.
Okay. And I remember you saying on the first album that the lyrics were rather personal. Was that the case this time as well when running games or not?
Yeah, I mean, always, because they're I mean, it's basically comes down to my lyrics. So yeah, of course, there's going to be, but I try to keep things vague so it's people can see their own meaning in these things too. I don't like to get so specific that it's people can only hear like your story. That's people want to hear their own story in songs, right?
Right. Totally, I understand. And I was speaking with Derek the other day before I heard the album, Derek Sherinian, and he said this is the best 80s album that wasn't released in the 80s. I guess there's a certain magic that comes from the music of that period, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to write albums that are going to appeal to the fan base that I have at the time. I mean, I'm known in that scene from playing in Night Ranger and Whitesnake and TSO. Yeah. So there's no point in me releasing a fusion album right now or a funk album or something. I mean, yeah, I could show that I could play all these different styles, but in terms of what I'm doing with it, it makes solid sense, right? And not that I don't enjoy it. This is that's the style that I started with. Is that so? Yeah. But that's a good quote. I like that. I'll take it.
Yeah, my first impression of it upon my first few listens is that if Cobra Kai needed a soundtrack, this would be it. I don't know if you're familiar with the series, but it's like loaded with 80s stuff.
I can't bring myself to watch it yet. I keep seeing the preview on Netflix, and I haven't hit click yet. I don't know if I can.
All right.
I don't know if I can commit to that yet.
You get there eventually, I'm sure. Um, one connector, I don't know if you made this connection, but Derek played with Brad Gillis at the beginning of his career. Did he tell you about that? It was his first like big break.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brad has told me about that many a times. Yes, and
Yeah.
I've let Derek know. Brad likes to say he gave Derek his start. So I said, Derek, just so you know, Brad gave you your start.
Right.
That's the story.
Yeah.
And he said, and Derek said that was true. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, they're both good dudes. I had such a good time with Gillis playing the Night Ranger with him. We were big brother, little brother for that time period. We had a lot of fun.
Right.
And
Cool.
Derek is just killer on the albums and killer with everything he does. Great sounds and
Yeah.
so fast. I think he recorded this whole album in like a day and a half or something crazy. I mean,
Wow. Crazy.
it was unbelievable. Yeah, he just went on like this, this binge, man, where he just went like nonstop, and it was done in like a day and a half. I was like, dude, thank you. That's incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Tell me about Finish Line. It's the first song I think that was revealed. I really love the video he did, and it kind of adds the whole dimension to the song as well. It builds up to what it represents.
So the first single was "Hard to Say Goodbye." That's
Oh, okay.
people can check that out on YouTube as well, the audio of it. And then "Finish Line" is the first like video. So we
Yeah.
decided to go the route of the animation video for it rather than doing like the 10 millionth quarantine video that people are doing right
Yeah.
now. And
Split
green
screen.
screening everything,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's always something I've wanted to do. Actually, I love animation, and I think Wayne Joyner did a really cool job with it. I just kind of gave him a loose idea of a storyline, and he rolled with it, and he did a killer job, I think.
Yeah. And my favorite song is the one you just mentioned, Hard to Say Goodbye. Before you comment on that, I must say that I sent this song to a friend of mine, like in the morning. And
Hmm.
like I got this text at 10 p.m. He goes, dude, what did you do to me? That's the only song I've listened the whole day. It's like crack cocaine. I can't get past it, you know?
Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah, that one was melody first. That's one of those
Yeah.
songs I wrote walking around on the road. So I think I was in Japan with Whitesnake and just
Okay.
out for a walk around Tokyo and started singing that song in my head and kind of wrote it that way. And then I remember just laying down the demo when we were in Vienna eventually, just going down like, okay, these are the guitars, here's the melody. And then just seemed like a perfect opportunity to use the song.
Another one I'm curious about is How Do You, which is almost like a waltz. This one has
Mm.
a distinctive quality to it.
That's a combination of a lot of things, that
Mm,
song. I don't know exactly, that's another one of those kind of like Until I Left You off the first album where it's kind of like the pop world
mm,
kind of mashed into hard rock and kind of like some of the stuff is kind of like, the second riff I think is very Alex Lifeson-y too. So it has a
oh,
little bit of like my Rush influence or Andy Summers influence too, to a
uh-huh.
degree. So there's a lot of different things happening with that one. But yeah, cool. Thanks. I'm glad you like that one. That's I I like the chorus in that one a lot.
Yeah. And on the heavier side of things, we have Take What's Mine, which is almost metal. Like you're flirting with the metal a little bit on that one. It's
Yeah,
another high point for me as well. Yeah.
yeah. That I think I want to say I wrote that backstage with Whitesnake, the riffs.
Mm,
Uh, Maybe not all of the riffs, but like three of them or something like that. I think we were in Russia. I remember being backstage, so you
jeez.
can tell I did a lot of touring, right? All the
Yeah.
places that, but well, like that one was written in Tokyo and this one's in Russia or whatever. I'm not trying to show off. I just telling the story. But yeah, I remember coming up with those riffs backstage.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
And what caught my attention, I mean, throughout the album is how powerful and strong the choruses are. And I think Russell makes every word count when he belts it out. And having Jeff Scott Soto on backing vocals really add another layer of awesomeness. It's like the cherry on the cake, right?
Yeah, I call Jeff the most overqualified background vocalist of all time. I mean, he's obviously a great vocalist. I mean, we're just friends, man. So he helps me out, and I think it's really a cool thing to hear their two voices together. Jeff, I mean, Jeff is like Derek in that he's really quick. I mean, you give him like a song, he'll turn it around that day for you, and he'll have layered harmonies happening everywhere. It's amazing,
Wow.
you know. And he just, you know, what about this? What about this? And you know. He's fast and he does an amazing job with it. So and
Yeah.
their voices just sound great together, man. Russell and Jeff have a cool blend.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Two great singers, not a surprise, right?
Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's amazing how many combinations of bands you have on this album because Jeff and Derek are in a band. Tony Franklin played with Derek on Planet X. Vinny played in, I don't know, a gazillion bands as well. And Jeff, you know, he's been everywhere. So there's a dozen bands represented on a single album. It's crazy. Tony's played
Yeah,
in Whitesnake as
yeah,
well, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Tony's a Whitesnake veteran, man.
yeah, yeah. And I like how you end the album with the moodier track, which also names it. Tell me about that one.
So that one I wrote after the fact. It was like I had the two bonus tracks are also kind of like mid-tempo rockers, and I went,
Okay.
you know, I got like this album has a lot of mid-tempo hard rockers, and I went,
Uh,
it could almost stand to have one like legitimate ballad because I mean, How Do You is like about as close as it came to it.
right.
So I thought it could have something like that. And I thought I could like, maybe do one with like strings and percussion. And so I just picked up my acoustic and because I had the title for the album already in my mind, Running Games.
Mm.
And I decided I just wrote the song then after the fact. And I got Lenny Castro to play percussion on it.
Oh, cool.
Thank goodness I know Steve Lukather a bit, so I could get Lenny's contact info. I saw him play with Joe Bonamassa, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
that's
nice.
awesome! I want to work with him someday." And so very excited to have Lenny on there, and Tony did bass on there. But that's like the only song on there without Derek, and it doesn't have Vinny on there. You know, so
Okay.
it's just percussion and bass and strings. My friend Dave Egger played the cello on there for me, and um, so yeah, just a cool way to tie it all together. That seemed to because I had already had the album title in my mind. It
Mm.
ties everything together. I thought that was like the glue for the
Yeah.
album in a weird way, even though it's
Yeah.
different than the other songs.
No, it does capture everything well and ends up on a high note for sure. And I know you did a few instrumental albums in the mid 2000s, right? For the most part, they were instrumental. Do you have any intention of doing something similar to those albums in the future or not?
I don't know. I mean, not right now. It
Hmm.
doesn't make sense right now. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm opposed to it. I would. You never know because you never know where life is going to take you. But you know, I'm in the hard rock scene right now, so it
Yeah.
makes the most sense for me to be doing this. I think next up would probably be another Joel Hoekstra's 13, and I have my project with Michael Sweet and Nathan James, and so I'll be working on that. And
Right.
so yeah, kind of like sticking in the rock world for a bit. You never know though.
Yeah. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, I first heard about you when you were leaving Night Ranger to join Whitesnake. You had your big break kind of later in the game compared to your other peers, who in their mid 20s seem to have it all figured out, right? Can you tell me a little bit about what led you to that big break?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I ever had like a big break. It was like a
Mm,
series of breaks that for me, I mean, I went from, see, what happened with me is I went to GIT like 90 91, right? So
okay.
I was going out there with chops and I was young and although I mean, I wasn't really ready to become somebody, but I guess maybe in the back of my mind, I thought, yeah, I'll
Mm.
go out to Hollywood and I'll, you know, but as soon as I got out, Nirvana hit, you know, Smells Like Teen
Oh,
Spirit came out, and that was the end of any of that. So it was like,
horrible timing. Yeah.
wow, this is, you know, but it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me because I needed to learn to make a living with my guitar and learn to play a lot of different styles. And it just led me on a very interesting path to get where I am today. So, I mean, I would say like, you know, the stuff that made a difference, Chicago, joining Kathy Richardson's band, and that led to doing Love Janis, which brought me out to New York, which was a theater piece about Janis
Mhm.
Joplin, because Kathy played Janis in the show, and also knowing Jim Peterick back in Chicago, where I grew up, and playing in his band, and that led to Night Ranger because Kelly Kagi was always a guest on his world stage shows. So
Uh-huh.
getting to know Kelly through that, and also Kelly was also doing scrap metal with the Nelsons, and so it's kind of like Jim's world stage, Jim Peterick's world stage, scrap metal, Night Ranger, Love Janis, and being in New York kind of led to Rock of Ages
Hmm.
through me being in the theater scene a bit, and I would say being in Rock of Ages really helped me get TSO, and then being in Night Ranger really helped me get Whitesnake. I feel like so.
Yeah.
It's just all these things just kind of kept evolving, and I would say, oddly enough, the Whitesnake thing is what led to being with Cher too,
Mm.
because that's Justin Derrico, the guitar player for The Voice and Pink, recommended me for that, and he's got a rehearsal spot right where
Okay.
Whitesnake rehearses. So we,
Okay.
ended up hanging out a little bit, and so I think really through that, in a weird way, that happened. So all these things just kind of roll into different situations.
I see. And I know you played cello and piano when you were young. Can you tell me if that affected at all your compositional skills, or how you developed in guitar later on? Or
I mean, I think growing up in a house with music happening all the time and classical music, so music
Mm,
on a high level is good for you. It definitely helps you develop pitch and time.
yeah.
So learning how to read when I was young, read music, that is, I think all that stuff helped because when I learned a power chord, I could just kind of, oh, you mean I just move this around and there's all the songs I've been listening to? Yeah,
Yeah.
great. And then so I could already figure out songs because my ear was good enough to lead me to the right pitch. So.
Hmm.
I like to say it accelerated things, then if I just would have started guitar at 11, it definitely helped me get moving with that.
I see. And speaking a little bit about your other gig, there's big news from Whitesnake with the blues compilation coming out in February. Are there any other plans to record a new album or anything in the cards at the moment?
Not nothing I've heard of. I mean, just we're just hanging tight, man, waiting for David to put the bat signal in the sky, and then we'll all come running.
Right.
I mean, definitely honored to be still working with David, and like, whatever he's got in mind works for me, man. So just excited to be a part of the band, and he's a good dude, and I like all the guys in the band. So looking forward to doing more with those guys for sure.
Okay. And if we can talk a little bit about TSO for a minute, to me, the show has kind of transcended hard rock and metal, and it now turned into like a family tradition every year, right? I mean, how far ahead do you start planning next year's show, and how do you manage to make it so inventive and fresh every year?
The production team, they work throughout the year. I mean,
Mm,
like as far as production design, designing a stage and designing a light show, and those guys are working on that all year. Now, as far as the
mm,
music goes, I think the music directors give us a song list, not a set list, because lots of the songs don't make the show. I'd say maybe we end up playing two-thirds of them or something like that. We get a song list about a month before we get to rehearsals, which is the very end of October usually. So usually,
okay.
like, figure the top of October. Here's your song list. So everybody at home starts brushing up and going through stuff and making sure you're on top of the ones we're going to need to know. And then you rehearse for 2.5 weeks, and then you're off and running, man. And
Yeah.
uh, burn through like the extremely intense tour in the matter
Yeah.
of like about, I guess, 8 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
7, 8 weeks. Yeah,
Intense. Yeah.
yeah.
I,
Mm,
yeah. I spoke with Chris Caffrey, I think 2018. And
hmm.
he mentioned they were sort of considering making this like a throughout the year stuff, not just in the holiday period, but changing it up a little bit to adapt to different seasons and whatnot. But I guess it hasn't happened yet. But I guess there's a plan for that.
Yeah, I mean, TSO, that for me is like Whitesnake, where when they're ready, I'm there.
Hmm.
But I have very little to do with where what's going to happen with it. It's just I'll be there when something's going to go
Okay.
down. But it's a big band and big organization, man. Management does an amazing job. Those guys are super smart and always have good plans. So. I just kind of, fall in line and do my best for them, man.
Right. Sure. And I guess, well, we mentioned Cher. Any plans with Cher at the moment? I guess, she can't tour or anything like that, right? So,
Yeah, not really. I mean, you never know what'll happen down the road, but no,
Yeah.
there's nothing doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the common thread between, Whitesnake, TSO, and Cher is that all these acts are like massive theatric endeavors. What would you say is the most important thing you learn from these masses of performance and these massive productions?
Um, well, I would say you can't ever be too specific about where life is going to take you.
Hmm.
So I think the best thing to do is just do the best you can at every turn, because sometimes you'll end up doing things you never would have thought you'd do in your life. I
Right.
never would have thought I'd be playing in Rock of Ages, like a Broadway show. I was not sitting there as an 11-year-old playing Black Sabbath songs, going, "Someday I'm going to be on Broadway." But it
Yeah.
changed my life for the better. I mean, for sure. It totally changed my whole career trajectory. All the people I got to meet and the money, and changed my scene as far as being a struggling guitar player versus a guy with some money in the bank and some gigs. Um, and then, same thing with Cher with that. I mean, again, when you're playing AC/DC and Black Sabbath and you're a kid, you're not going, "Someday I'm going to play with Cher."
Never.
But
Yeah.
you can never tell where life is going to take you, man. You just work hard, but those things, are huge blessings, man. When you get there
Yeah.
and you have the opportunity to do them. So, uh, just it shows you the value of hard work and just keeping an open mind. Don't just pick out one thing and go, "I want to play with that person or this band." It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You have to spread out, give yourself lots of opportunities, and work hard at all of them and see which ones open up.
Right. Good advice right there. Yeah. Last question for me. I know that 13, like the moniker 13, is designed as a studio effort, but is there a chance that these songs are represented or presented in a live setting someday? Or
Well, we did one show on the Monsters of Rock cruise
oh,
in
okay.
support of Dying to Live,
Mhm.
and it went really well, man. I mean, we packed the theater and people loved it. It's a cool set to play, because then you got Vinny back there playing drums, so he can play some Dio,
Yeah.
and he got me in the bed so he can do some Whitesnake, and so you get Vinny Appice playing Whitesnake. It's kind of cool.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
you got this kind of cool mix of stuff, and everybody takes a solo. It's kind of like a Whitesnake show with that, where everybody's gets their moment in the sun. And so,
Right.
yeah, it went over really well. And you never
Yeah.
know. I mean, I'd love to do some live shows with it, but of course, we got a pandemic
Yeah.
going on, and
Yeah.
and as soon as we get the world open, everybody's going to want to get out with their bands. So,
I think so. Yeah. I was talking to Wolf Hoffman from Accept the other day, and I told him everybody's going to want to tour, and there's probably going to be like massive combinations of, I don't know, 3 or 4 acts touring together or massive tour combos, right? So I'm excited for that if and when it happens. So, yeah.
yeah. Me too. I know. I'm not counting the chickens before they're hatched, and I'm not sitting around just like, oh, hopefully someday either. I'm extremely busy right now, working really hard, and like,
Hmm.
that just because we're not out touring doesn't mean you can't work hard as a musician. So
Of course.
that's just one area of what we do. So
Yeah.
important to remember that. So it's not all that bad. It's bad. I mean, I haven't had a period like this where I haven't been on stage in my whole life. I mean, not since
Yeah.
I was a teenager, maybe, and even then. I mean, I think I'd have to go back all the way to being like maybe 14 years old or something, this long without
Jesus.
performing.
Yeah.
So a long time
Yeah.
that I haven't been on a stage in 10 months or something like crazy like that. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Absurd. Yeah.
yeah, insane. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you put out this album to keep us entertained during the pandemic, man. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. It needed to
Yeah.
happen, dude. Needed to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And well, thank you so much for your time. I hope it's not too long until you're able to tour.
Thanks, man. Yeah, me too. Fingers are crossed. Like nobody's been. I'm going to cement them like this until we get there.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Cheers, Joe. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, man.
All right.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
brother. Thank you so
Take care.
much.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this interview with Joel Hoekstra. As always, you can check it out on many formats: YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Also, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's wrap it up with the song Hard to Say Goodbye from the new album of Joel Hoekstra's 13, Running Games. Stay safe and keep rocking!